Good morning. My name is Nick Simister, and today is our second of a series of webinars relating to Microsoft products and services. I'm joined with fellow account manager Joanna and Dal, who is head of IT services. In today's session, named The Power That Lies Within, we will discuss the wider Office 365 portfolio and how some of these solutions may be of benefit to you and your business. We will touch on security and how your subscription is always up to date. And at the end of the session, we will open up the floor to any questions that you may have. So, what we're trying to say is that Office 365 is much more than just Office and the tools we all know and love, such as Word, Excel, and Outlook. There are other applications that users can benefit from. For me personally, I have a clutter-free desk, no handsets, no paper files, no old-school diary. I guess I'm digital. I'm always contactable, and my files are stored centrally, and my support team are happy about this. And the good news, some of these applications may already be available in your existing plan. In today's session, we'll be focusing on 3 or 4 applications which offer businesses and its staff a secure and scalable method of communication, collaboration and storage whilst improving efficiencies and performance. So, without further ado, let me hand over to Al, who is going to discuss in more detail the power that lies within.
Thanks, Nick. So I'm Alistair Ralph. I'm Head of IT Services here at Pennine. I'm going to start off today's session talking about email in the cloud. And that's provided by Exchange Online in Office 365. And Exchange is often the first application or sometimes the second after Office that companies are deploying. Exchange Online enables or enhances other features in other elements of Office 365 as well. So, for example, the ability to email files, the ability to book meetings in Teams is all enabled through Exchange Online. So it's quite an important element. So what do I get with Exchange Online? As a starter for 10, a large mailbox, so up to 100 gigabyte mailboxes. There are no limitations of on-premise servers where you're limited by the amount of storage space that you've implemented on those servers. Microsoft have got you covered from that perspective, and along with that 100 gig you get unlimited archiving, so you can retain mail for compliance purposes, etc. Anywhere, anytime access on any device, so the ability to get your mail wherever you are, whenever you are, very quickly and very easily. A reduced server footprint frees up administration time. There's no more need for upgrades because the service is evergreen, which we'll talk about a bit later. And you can rest in peace or rest at ease that your data is going to be secure and arguably more secure in Microsoft's data centers than on your own servers. Microsoft spend billions of dollars ensuring that this is the case, and they use intelligent threat protection to ensure that any threats that come through to any tenant on Microsoft's platform are blocked, and those same security settings are then relayed out to the entire Office 365 community. So you can have the same element of security, the same protection that was once only afforded by massive organizations. So what does this mean to you as an organization? Users and organizations aren't limited anymore. Email can be retained almost indefinitely with the archiving. Large mailboxes allow you to keep as much mail as needed. Improved efficiency, user efficiency, improved response times. I remember back 10-15 years ago getting a BlackBerry for the first time and being able to access my mail on BlackBerry whenever, wherever I was, and it was a game changer for me. Reduced overheads, so reduction of that server footprint allows you to either sweat the asset of the investment you've already made in server hardware by lifting the burden of having Exchange files on that server, allow you to maybe use it for something else, or to completely decommission it. So that gives you a happier support team. And the removal of risk or reduction of risk of a successful attack, such as phishing attacks on employees or denial of service attacks. ultimately protecting you, your company, your data, and your users. So that's all well and good. If you've not already moved to Exchange, there are a number of ways to migrate to Exchange, and the method for that migration will depend on a number of things, and that's what Pennine are here to help you with, to guide you through that process. So you can perform a big bang migration, and that's not as scary as it sounds. It's also known as a cutover migration, where we can help you to migrate your data in the background prior to a go live date. Once all that data has been replicated from the existing email solution, we can then flip the switch and transfer the users. The second migration method is a staged or batch migration, which is exactly as it sounds. So again, a link is created between the existing email platform and Exchange Online. And then users are divided into either manageable batches or batches based on team, department, or even users that work together regularly and are migrated gradually. And the final method is a hybrid migration, which is similar to batched, where you can move users in groups, but set up as a more permanent solution, so retaining an element of on-premise Exchange or on-premise email platform, which could be done for numerous reasons, such as maybe legacy third-party applications that need an interconnection into your email platform that can't be achieved in Exchange Online, or a whole host of other reasons. And like I say, the method that's used will depend on maybe the current version of your on-premise email server, different types of mailboxes you might have, and each method has its benefits and drawbacks depending on your organization. Ultimately, by taking advantage of Pennine's experience, we will help you to ensure that none of these elements either trip you up, and we'll work consultatively with you to make sure that your future requirements are all managed as well. So moving on from email into content management and collaboration in Office 365. Content is primarily managed in 365 in OneDrive and SharePoint. And when I start to talk to customers about these products, even people that have got slight familiarization with Office 365 often ask me what the difference is between the two and how to use them. And that's, again, part of the education piece that Pennine can provide for end users to ensure that a move to the cloud is a successful one. So OneDrive is really where you store your personal data or data that's more pertinent just to yourself. So your documents, your files, stuff that might have historically been stored in maybe My Documents or on a personal file store on your network. SharePoint is a more structured storage area, really for shared business stuff, so maybe policies, maybe template documents, maybe marketing collateral images, etc. And this can be structured in SharePoint as simple files and folders, or as a more complex intranet solution. So what do you get? What are the benefits of storing content in these areas? So first of all, content is stored within Microsoft's network of data centers, and it's a global network of data centers. But for UK-based users, that's primarily in Dublin, with that Dublin data center replicating over to one in the Netherlands. You can specify where your data resides as well. So you can say, I want my data to stay within the EU if that's what your compliance requirements are. But Microsoft do also have UK data storage data centers that you can specify that your data resides in if that's what you need as an organization. So with OneDrive, in terms of storage, you actually get an unlimited amount of storage. A slight caveat to that is that it's set at 5 terabytes per user initially, but that can be increased with Microsoft upon request. So a simple service request will increase that over to 5 terabytes if required. 5 terabytes is a hell of a lot of space as it is. And with SharePoint, you get 1 terabyte of data per organization, plus another half a terabyte per user on top of that. So if you had 100 users, you'd get a total of 1.5 terabytes of storage in SharePoint. Storing your data in these areas is not just for a secure storage area, it also enables other features and a lot of collaboration features. So now within Microsoft Office, when I go to attach a file, I no longer initially have the option just to attach a file to an email and send it around the business, send it to multiple parties. I can share a link to my OneDrive, to my SharePoint, and people can access a single version of the truth, a single document, again, no matter where or when they're trying to access the document, because it's all stored centrally in the cloud. So I can send from a send link in my Office client, I can simply type a name in there and send a link without even having to go into Outlook or anywhere else. I do, of course, at the bottom have the option to simply attach a copy in a situation where I might need to as well. So what does sending a link facilitate? So this is a couple of screen grabs from when Joanna and I were working on this presentation. We're working on a single version of the truth, but it also allows us to co-author a document, so we can work simultaneously on the same document. I can see changes Joe makes, vice versa. I can even see the slide that Joe is editing and go and see exactly what she's doing. So if she's messing up any of my animations, I'll know about it. Autosave facilitates a lot of this real-time co-authoring. So again, a reasonably new feature in Office is the autosave function. When a document is saved in OneDrive or SharePoint, you have the option to automatically save it, and that will save changes that are made almost as soon as they're made, almost instantly. So that allows Joe, who might be on the other side of the world, to see the changes that I'm making, and vice versa. So it allows us to collaborate in real time. Also really useful for, I'm sure that everyone on the webinar has had the experience of Office maybe crashing when you're halfway through a document and maybe it hasn't saved and you lose your work. This eradicates that. So well done, Microsoft, for that feature. The final piece of collaboration that I use all the time is the continuum access. So because my documents are stored centrally in the cloud, I can access them on any of my devices at any time. So on the left of the screen we have the desktop version of SharePoint with my list of recent documents, this webinar top, because we've been working on it today. I can shut my laptop down, close PowerPoint on my laptop, and then move to my iPhone, in this example on the right. And when I open PowerPoint on my iPhone, my recent document history is synced to that device. And that could be iPhone, iPad, it could be another laptop, it could be a desktop computer. It all stays in sync and you're always accessing the same version of a document. So great for, if I'm traveling on the train, won't necessarily want to take my laptop with me, I'll take my iPad, but I can still access all of the same documents on my different devices. So moving on from that into true intelligent communication, intelligent collaboration, and if you talk to anyone in the Microsoft community at the moment, they'll generally mention Teams. Microsoft Teams provides a single pane of glass that allows us to access all of the elements I'm talking about today. So it's a pane of glass for OneDrive, it's a pane of glass for SharePoint, it's a pane of glass for a lot more of the Office 365 applications. So just to set the scene a little bit, in the workforce today, we've got up to 5 generations of employee. That could be a small percentage of workers that are, say, past the retirement age, who might be working part-time, or could be working full-time for that matter. A small percentage of Generation Z or millennials, who again may be in part-time employment or apprenticeships. And then we have the baby boomers, Generations X and Y, that make up roughly equal parts, equal shares of the remaining workforce. And all 5 of these generations work, communicate and collaborate in slightly different ways, or would like to. And therefore we need to accommodate this. Again, otherwise we risk shadow IT coming into the network infrastructure. Because if users aren't given the tools that they want to, the tools to work the way that they want to, then they will go out and find their own tools. Equally, workers of all generations are no longer, and probably never have been, members of just one team. So yeah, officially I might be in the sales team or the marketing team or the accounts team, but actually within an organisation we still form many informal teams. So again, take for example the delivery and preparation of this webinar. We've got Belinda from our marketing team, we've got Nick and Joe from the sales team, myself from the pre-sales team. We all come together to form an informal team to produce these webinars. And so Microsoft Teams helps us to remove the silos or the departmental silos and collaborate effectively within the wider teams. So what is Teams? As I said earlier, it's a single pane of glass, a single application that presents or that surfaces information within the Office 365 platform. So it's a digital hub for collaboration, bringing content, conversations, all together into one place. And it gives every stakeholder within these informal teams a holistic view of the information they need. So this first screenshot is the conversation tab. So a Teams page is made up of a team, and then underneath that you have various channels, which could be projects, it could be different elements. And this is looking at the marketing page, or the marketing team in this example. So in the conversation tab, we have documents that have been uploaded, we have conversation history, we have an overview of meetings that have taken place, just giving everyone the information that they need to see. I talked earlier about SharePoint. This is how SharePoint files and folders are surfaced within Microsoft Teams. Very simple, easy to view. If you had files in here, they'd appear at the top, so just like in a file share that you'd be used to using, or a folder that you used to be accessing today. So access to a single version of the truth. So again, when editing the PowerPoint presentation for this, Jo was able to go off and make her notes on her slides, Nick the same, make edits to the presentation, etc. And we can all see those changes in real time. So yes, you can add multiple tabs that are Microsoft related. When you click to add a new tab to a channel, you get this screen. So you can add along the top the sort of Microsoft based apps. So you could add an Excel spreadsheet, you could add a OneNote page. So our product development team at Pennine use a shared OneNote page in Teams to hold our agendas for our weekly meetings. The minutes are added to that OneNote, and people can add items to the agenda for the next meeting and see all the history. So really powerful from that perspective. But you also have the ability to add not just Microsoft applications into Teams. Microsoft now recognise there are more operating systems, more vendors out there, and they don't just lock down their services to Microsoft offering. And this is only growing, day in, day out in terms of the different apps that can be integrated into Teams. So we also have a store within Teams where you can add even more new features. So you can see here on the top, you can add a SurveyMonkey tab, you can add a Smart Sheet. So again, moving away from the there's only Windows, there's only Office world that Microsoft used to work in. All of this is available across platforms. So Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and the apps have been developed in a way that means that the same code can be shared across these different platforms, and therefore giving firstly a consistent user experience no matter what device someone's using, but also a platform for Microsoft to rapidly develop the application. Teams has been built for the cloud, built in the cloud for the cloud, whereas historically apps might have been deployed on physical servers. This is a purely cloud-based solution, and therefore is very agile in its development. So what's coming in Teams? really even more integration with other apps. So this screenshot shows the integration of Skype for Business into Microsoft Teams, so the ability to make your calls, contact, collaborate through using what traditionally has been known as Skype for Business functionality. And that integration is coming by the end of the year. And Teams is only going to become more and more integrated with more Microsoft apps and more third-party solutions. And a number of years ago, Microsoft used to use the adage that you'd spend 90% of your day in Outlook. I'd sort of challenge that a little bit. I think Outlook's probably open 90% of the day. I think we'll come to the point where Teams is the app that you open in the morning and has all of your applications embedded within it. It's rumoured that Outlook is going to be moving into Teams, so you'll be able to access your email in Teams. Teams will be open for 90+% of the day, and you'll be accessing all your applications and all of your files and data, etc., from that single Teams application. So it's all well and good me saying move data to the cloud, move applications to the cloud, but how do we ensure that that stays safe and you have the reassurance as an organisation that it's going to be secure? So with Office 365 and Microsoft 365, enterprise mobility and security is provided. So Microsoft EMS provides tools to securely manage devices, be that a company issued device or a bring your own device that you've allowed your users to bring into the infrastructure. And also manage your users in the cloud, your data in the cloud, and giving users the flexibility and freedom to be able to access everything securely in a protected manner. So how does EMS do that? So you can centrally manage single sign-on across devices and across your data center using Azure Active Directory. So users have a single address, a single sign-on, single password to be able to access everything. Comprehensive intelligent protection against advanced attacks, again using that secure sign-on, using multi-factor authentication that can come with EMS. And using Microsoft Intune, you can securely manage applications and data, be that on Windows, iOS, Android, Mac, all from one single place. And again, this includes the Office 365 applications as you'd expect, but also many third-party applications can be managed within this as well, such as Salesforce, for example. And you can even now automatically deploy new devices remotely. So historically, you might have had to have a device shipped to your office, shipped to your IT team. They install an image, configure the device, install the apps, etc. With Intune, you can ship a device directly to a user. So it could, if you've got a remote or disparate workforce, you can have the device shipped directly to the user. They log on with their secure identity, and as soon as they log onto that machine, it'll pull down an image and all the applications, all the settings that you need to have in that machine. Finally, protecting the information that you've got up in the cloud, so safeguarding your corporate data, enabling the secured collaboration by using classification of data, labeling of data, encryption of data, and even detailed tracking and reporting. And you can even see on a map where data is being accessed, and artificial intelligence that's built into the platform will identify unusual patterns. So for example, if Nick opened a file in Manchester and then 20 minutes later the same file was accessed or attempted to be accessed in China, the system could block it and flag the fact that either Nick's got himself a time machine or someone is illegitimately trying to access your data. So why is security so important? Why is it so important? And the tools that I've talked about today give your users the functionality to perform effectively in how they want to. With the consumerization of IT, users are used to using these kind of applications that they see on screen in their personal life. Not giving the users the tools will or could cause serious problems for you in terms of the use of unsanctioned, unsecured, uncontrolled applications. With the changes that are coming to data protection in a couple of months now, this becomes even more prevalent. So having your data in a controlled environment where you know where your data is, where it's easy for you to access and monitor access to that data, it becomes crucial. I'd take, for example, a customer I met about 6 months ago. When I asked them where they stored the data, yes, they had a network file share, but users wanted to work flexibly. So when I asked the users, some were using Dropbox, some were using iCloud, some were using G Suite, data was all over the place, and the IT team had no control over any of this. In a GDPR scenario where you maybe get a right to be forgotten request, so where a customer or a contact can request that any data you hold on them is removed, that would prove an absolute nightmare. Whereas with your data all being stored centrally in Office 365, you can perform one search for Nick Simister, and that will surface all of the relevant data that pertains to Nick, and you can do with as requested. So that really brings me to the end of my section. I'll hand over to Joe now, who's going to summarise for us.
Lovely. Yes, thanks ever so much, Al. So, yeah, I mean, one of the main features to Office 365, obviously just to summarise this point, is that users always benefit from always running the most up-to-date version of the software. And that's evergreen. So this not only encompasses the services at the user level, but also with the underlying infrastructure. And this is because Microsoft will always run continual refresh cycles, and that completely removes the headache for you of having to plan for purchasing the newest edition of the software, and of course managing a migration. And of course, always having the latest and greatest features ensures that we can all be more effective in our work. So just to summarise the sections that sort of Al covered off, to recap, we started off with an overview of Office 365 and some of the core features and benefits found within Exchange, OneDrive and SharePoint, and the increased effectiveness you can drive within your organisations using intelligent communication and collaboration via Teams. Al also touched on enterprise mobility and security, which forms part of Microsoft 365. Microsoft want to ensure that security is covered off with every single client. It's important to ensure that all data is classified into public, private, and confidential, for example, and that all users are responsible for the distribution of documents and how they access them via mobile device management. Now, there are many benefits to deploying the online services. I've just put a couple on the slides here for you today. Pet9 can work with your organisation to ensure that you and all your users benefit fully by this service by smoothing out boom and bust migration project cycles and, of course, the associated costs, making sure that you increase your competitiveness within the marketplace, and, of course, that your business stays flexible and agile and can adjust to business changes, and, of course, by keeping your software up to date and secure. Now, we actually, at Pennine here, we see many people who have Office 365, but who haven't actually had the opportunity to realise the potential impact it can actually have on their business. Hopefully, this session has helped you to understand how this could either start your business on a digital transformation journey or, of course, continue along with it. We've only scratched the surface here today on a few of the items. Therefore, we would, of course, welcome the opportunity to come and talk to you about how this online portfolio could help you. So this brings me to the end of the session here this morning. The recording of this webinar will be made available to you all, and we will be following up with all of you over the next few days. Our contact details are also provided on the final slide, so please feel free to contact us at any time to chat through any of the topics covered here today. Our next webinar is likely to be held on Wednesday, the 21st of March, where we will be focusing on security in the workplace and mobile device management. Invites for this webinar will be going out within the next 10 days or so. Therefore, I would urge you to register and attend, especially as it's one of the most important areas to cover off within an organisation now and moving forward as part of our technology strategy. This actually also brings me on to mention that we will be exhibiting at IP Expo in Manchester from the 25th to the 26th of April. For those of you who don't already have this in your diaries, it is well worth attending. It is the #1 enterprise IT event. This year, the event is very focused on cybersecurity and what you can do in your business to protect connect your business and your users, along with talks on collaboration, such as with using tools such as Teams. We at Pennine have a stand with our two other organisations which we work closely with on a daily basis, and these are Rocom and Video Nations. We're all part of the NICOM group. I would urge you to register for this free event, and if you can, please book a slot to come and talk to us on the stand, as there we will have all our experts to talk you through your business and your technical strategies, right from concept, design, solution, devices and user adoption, plus much more. So thank you ever so much for your time this morning. It's been a pleasure speaking with you all. I'd now like to open the floor to any questions you may have. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Joe. I've unmuted the audience, so if there are any questions, please fire away. I think something that I've sort of just thought about when we're talking about Evergreen was Evergreen adds an extra layer of security as well with the constant patches that have been dropped in. Yeah. Cool. Okay, we'll wrap it up then, and let's say, like Joe says, register for the next webinar and we'll talk a bit more about security, and thank you for your time this morning.